Hi, I'm Emily, and this is my Lost the Plot book review of A Clockwork Orange. So my first thoughts going into it were that I wasn't going to like it because it's written mostly in slang and it's hyper-violent, and I thought it was going to be like American Psycho where they just wallowed in the violence and we were all shocked and it was horrible, and just that for 200 pages. And I was really pleasantly surprised because it's actually about choices and morality, and if you're still good when you have no choice but to be good or passive, really. If you're not violent, then what are you? And it was a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be. And the slang itself, you get used to. The best way that I did it was I just read the words and didn't attempt to decipher them, and found out that eventually I just started filling in the blanks and realised what it was. You also can check your copy and see if they have a glossary, because I didn't, and realised when I'd finished that in fact there was a glossary at the end, and that's on me, really. The book was written in the 60s, and so there's a lot about worry of communism and socialism and television making the youth distracted and unable to empathise, which makes sense and is very interesting. And while I was reading it, I was thinking a lot about American Psycho, because that book horrified me and was awful, and in fact I had nightmares from just the cover of the book. But it also, in my opinion, wasn't as good as this one, because they dove really into the violence in this way that was almost boring, because you couldn't fill in any of the gaps yourself. Like the violence in this one, there's a detachment because of the slang, but actually they don't talk in great detail about the things that they do. So you are left to fill it all in with your own mind, and that's actually much more effective. And it just got me thinking about what the equivalent to this book or American Psycho is now, what we do when we look for a book that's supposed to be shocking in its depiction of violence and youth, and what are they coming to now? And I couldn't think of one. So if you can think of one, please comment and tell me, because I'd be interested to read it. I think that now we get our violence from non-fiction, from true crime even. We don't necessarily need a long description of a horrible assault that's happened fictionally. We can read a police report of something that's actually happened, and that's maybe more of a tell about how we feel about violence now. I don't know. I enjoyed the book. I give it 8 out of 10 glasses of milk. It was fun. I devoured it in a day. It was I'd recommend it. But if things like violence and the language would be too much and you're just not unless you're interested in these things, I wouldn't give it a go, because it is a bit of a slog. But once you get into it, it's well worth it. So thank you for listening.